Hey guys, Guillermo and Steve Owens here with Bassmaster's The Scope podcast. In this episode, we're super excited. We're bringing in Ryan. I'm not even going to pretend to be able to pronounce his last name. He can help us with that in a minute, but we're bringing him in fresh off a win on the Kissimmee Chain. A very awesome win. I mean, two extremely consistent days. And then after Ryan, we're bringing in Dylan Crystalski. I think I did get his last name right. He had one heck of a day too, showing extreme resilience with the biggest stringer one of the biggest stringers we've seen in kayak bass fishing history, if not the biggest. So really excited to talk to him about that. But overall, going to be a great episode. Steve-O, take it away, man.
All right, we're going to bring in Ryan Matylewicz. He's our Kissimmee Chain champion. Ryan, welcome to the Scope.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
We, as obviously, we'll get into the nitty gritty here in just a minute, but you took on quite a bit of money. You beat 242 anglers from across the country. Seems as if, a lot of you showed up and showed out from up north. And we often discussed what it's like to, bring you all in from all over the country as I play around with the screen here to get that big logo out of the way. So, Ryan, you had mentioned in the green room here talking to Guillermo, it was a great back and forth. It was really good. And so that's one of the exciting things about being in this podcast with obviously my partner here, Guillermo, is he asked those questions that, it's kind of like my wife. She asks me these questions at home and it kind of stumps me. He's got those kinds of questions. It's an insightful take. So, we want to just give a brief bio of who you are, where you're from, and what you fish out of. And then we got some questions for you.
Yeah, my name is Ryan Matylewicz. I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania.
Can you say that one more time?
Ryan Matylewicz.
Oh, man. That's actually really cool.
You nodded.
Yeah, it's actually like phonetically, it's kind of Matylewicz. So Matylewicz.
Oh man, that's cool. I've never. Where's that from?
It's Polish, and
Okay.
like my great aunts and uncles, I don't, but they're all like Polish speaking people. That's why we actually met the third place finisher at the event was actually he was Polish speaking, and he's like, "Oh, Ryan, you speak Polish." I'm like, "Oh no, sorry, man, my family does, I don't." But it was kind of neat. But yeah, it's Polish, and I was kind of like on the other end. My mom's Michalowski, so I was Michalowski or Matylewicz. I mean, I kind of either way was a mouthful.
I'd say, but no, that's really cool. Sorry to interrupt you, man. I just had to know. I'm
No,
sorry, I had to know.
Yeah. Well, it's been a thing going on for a while with my last name and people being able to pronounce it, and with good reason. But my 2-year-old can say it, which is kind of funny. But yeah, so I'm from Pennsylvania, Northeast PA, just hour or two south of the New York border, and been fishing out of the kayak for I guess probably going on 7 years now, 8 years, doing some tournament trails across the country. First one ever was way back. I had fished, I think it was a Kentucky Lake Hobie tournament back in like 2018 to 2017. I can't remember what year it was, but it was a ways back, and that was kind of lit the fire. And then they did some of the regional. KBF at the time was doing like the regional events, like where they had like the three per region, like up in like the Northeast. So started doing those, did some local regional stuff, like EKF was around for a while, did a bunch of that, and bunch of the KBF national stuff, and then fished a couple of the Hobie ones in recent years, and then went into the Bassmaster like 2 years back. I fished a couple, but never really fully chased the trail, just because I was kind of dealing with a lot. I'm a business owner up here. I have an excavation company, and then I also have a boat and RV storage facility, and we have an Airbnb, and my wife's a full-time pharmacist, and my kid is 2 years old. So there's just a lot of life stuff going on. So chasing a trail has been kind of a challenge for me, to kind of go at it really as much as I would like to. But it's also been a blessing that I'm able to go on vacations, and my wife does that for me, where she'll actually take her time. Sorry, I don't know if you lost audio. She'll take her time to come with me and like waste her vacation time to actually support me while we're fishing. So that's really cool of her. And this was one of those times where she was able to come down with me to Florida, and I had a week to fish, and then she flew down after. And then after the tournament, it worked out really well. She actually stayed, and we enjoyed just a week of vacation down there prior to coming home after the tournament was over.
So you came close to not even fishing the event. Is that right?
I did, Steve. I think I talked to you about that. We were planning this vacation regardless of just coming down there and just getting to nice weather. My niece came down. She just turned 4, and we wanted to take her to Disney. And my dad wanted to go, and I was trying to I try to support the family's most important thing to me. And I wanted to go do a trip and just not have it be too much. But when you have like mom, dad, wife, baby, niece, sister-in-law, you get a bunch of people coming down, it becomes very planning complicated, especially for the level of fishing here, like how much practice you want to be able to put in on a typical day. When I do fish tournaments, I try to put in like as maxed amount of practice, just like every other angler does, as possible. But to make that life fish balance and try to keep everybody happy at the same time was a little bit of a challenge. But as I mentioned to Steve, I almost brought my bass boat down. I was just gonna like say, okay, like the kayak thing's gonna be too much. It's gonna be too much going on, too much stress, and I was gonna bring my boat down, and just so this way we could have just like only did a couple days out, just like for fun, just hanging out down there. And I actually did it because my dad, he really enjoys the kayak fishing, and I know he really wanted to do it, so he was the reason that I actually ended up bringing the kayaks down, was because I know he wanted to fish real bad.
And so did he fish, a lot of people don't know, you finished like really, really well on Lake Murray. Did your dad fish that one as well?
Yeah, he did. He fished Lake Murray. He was in a similar area to me on Lake Murray. This event, he actually launched at a different ramp than I did on day one. Then day two, he was up fishing where I was. But day one, he went to a different ramp, and he struggled just like everybody else did. I mean, I fished over the lake like everybody else, and it was a real tough tournament. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and so, at Guillermo, and as you all know, I was able to get on the camera boat with Mark Cisneros, on day one for most of the day, and so we actually ran into Ryan, and, he was chucking that rig, and you could just see his arms were about to fall off.
Yeah.
What particular brand style was that rig?
I actually started with just what I had in inventory. Everybody knows as an angler, you have so much inventory and tackle until you comes down to like what you find out what the juice is, then you don't have it. So it's like, and then you're just like,
Right.
oh man, I got to go sit 6 more of these. I don't have them. You got 7 million lures, but you don't have the 6 that you want that day.
Yeah.
But I had a couple Hog Farmer, the light wire umbrella rigs that I was throwing, and I ended up snagging one day one of the tournament. I had 2. I had a backup, thankfully. But day one of the tournament, I snagged one in a dock, and I was like super bummed out about it. It was like right in the middle of the daytime, but I was able to tie the backup on, and it was okay. And then I grabbed a couple extra from, I believe it was, we don't have them up here, but the Academy. They had just the 6 cents one, which is a
Mhm.
little bit heavier wire. I ended up grabbing that one, and they don't really care. I mean, if they're gonna bite something that crazy and big, I don't really think that rig makes that much of a difference.
Yeah, they're biting a coat hanger,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Pending
I don't
coat
think it's
hanger.
that drastic. I mean, it's not like you're hanging a minnow in front of their face, like where you're just
Yeah.
everything they're staring at. I mean, the way I was fishing it, especially, it wasn't like I was like slow rolling it over their head. I mean, I was like burning it through them. Like I was throwing that thing 100 feet every single cast, and I was fishing on like an 8.5 to 1 reel, like
Mhm.
burning that thing in like
Dang.
7 foot of water, 8 foot of water. My arm was cooked, like trying
I
to
was
reel that
gonna
thing through.
say.
Yeah, it was bad, but it seemed like that it needed like if it was going slow and I tried like the lighter weight thing, they would kind of just like follow it, and you'd get like that conga line going, and they wouldn't eat it. And then when I was getting those rebite was when it was coming, like keeping it like just like a foot off the bottom and just burning it, and like they would see it coming over their head, and they would just like react to it, because it was just like, okay, here comes the food. I'm just gonna like attack it, and that's how I was able to get the bites. But if I let them look at it for too long or too slow, they just didn't want it. So the game was just cast as many times and burn it as fast as I could. And I wish I would have brought a bigger rod. I was fishing on a 7.6 X Pride, so it would have been a lot nicer having like a 7.10 or an 8 footer. But it worked out. After day one, though, man, I was smoked. Like I really didn't know if I was going to be able to throw it at the end of the day. thankfully it got better, but like I barely could open my hand just from like stopping that thing and casting so many times. And my forearm was just like ripped apart. So my wife actually ran to the CVS and grabbed me an ace bandage that I wrapped my forearm up real tight on day 2, just to, like stop it from stretching so much, and took a bunch of ibuprofen and went back after it.
Yeah, I noticed, you know, you didn't stand and throw that often. We were around you for a couple of hours, and
Yeah.
I kind of wondered. I'm obviously I can't say anything, but like Hog Farmer, he's a good friend of mine. Scotty's right up the road, and you know that was one of the first things I learned because I've thrown a rig for forever. Number one was fish it like a crankbait. Don't worry about losing it. I mean that's why
Hmm.
you throw it. And secondly was I throw it on copolymer. He had attached a camera to his actually, and the amount of follows and commitments he got from not throwing it on braid. A lot of people like to throw it on braid,
Hmm.
but the amount of noise was just crazy underneath. That it
Yeah.
was a different noise than what you want the rig to make. It was that braid was just awful, and you could tell the fish catching ability. But when you're throwing a rig all day, I mean, you can literally stand up and just kind of throw it off your hip and lob it versus overhanded like you were. And so I thought that was kind of odd, because I knew you were going to
Hmm.
break your arm. So, uh, really, is
Yeah,
that
so
just
I
your
was
preference?
lobbing as good as I could from the seated position, but it wasn't feasible for me to stand up because a lot of people that know me, I'm a very active, forward-facing sonar kind of guy with with the Garmin Live Scope,
Gotcha.
and that was a part of. I wouldn't say I was like individually casting at fish, but it was I was using the Live Scope to put me in the high percentage areas as I was throwing it. I wasn't just blind casting it. To where I was going, I was kind of looking for specific things. I mean, there was a lot of trash fish in the area, but there were
Mhm.
certain ways that I was kind of observing the fish in certain little clusters and sizes in certain areas, and making sure that I was trying to cast it over them, while being mindful of not keeping the lure out of the water. So it was a balance of using the live scope to make the proper right cast in the right area, but another portion of that was like not depending on it to an extreme to where my lure was losing time of being in the water, if that makes sense.
You wanted to keep that lure in a sweet spot, be able to see
Yeah,
it on your screen. I get
yeah.
it. I get it.
But
Yeah.
I also wanted it to be in the water constantly because it wasn't like I was like a lot of times a couple of those big bites I had, I didn't even see the fish. Like they would just come and hammer it. But it was important for me to like keep it at the right level. And I would see like a brush, like not a brush pile, but like grass humps and stuff. And I would actually, when I got to them and I was burning it, I'd actually work it up and then let it fall on the other side, then like take it off quick just to like try to trigger those bites.
We heard a lot of talk. I know I heard a lot of talk from some other anglers about those grass humps. It really seemed was that like was that a big key to you? Was there any other factor in the grass that seemed to make one patch of grass a little better than the other?
So I think it's mine was fairly simple. I mean, and like to show people, like this is like me. I found this on my desk when I got back. It was like my pre-fish before I even went. Like this is like a printout of Toho with me drawing all over it like a crazy person before I even went down there. Just like the way I wanted to present and attack this place. And a lot of the stuff I went to kind of fell flat, and I didn't like do well. Thankfully, which is always a good thing. G, as you know, like I found like something of encouragement on the first day of practice. Like I just happened to go to that spot that I ended up fishing the tournament on the first day of practice. And then every other day of practice after that was awful. So I said, well, I guess I know where I'm going. But the spot was very specific, the way that it lined up. So I didn't really know what I had during practice. I caught 3 fish that were over 20 inches in a massive area, much bigger than where I actually ended up fishing the tournament. But they were spread out a couple miles apart. So I actually went to the day 1 of the tournament thinking I was going to fish like just cover like miles of water, just like going everywhere and just looking for these fish. But when I actually got on the spot and really started fishing where I caught those waypoints, like and where I started catching the fish in practice, I ended up not having to go as far because I just kept catching them. And then I just decided like instead of covering a bunch of miles, I was going to protect and like kind of hang out in like a big section of water in like the bay I was fishing. And the reason it set up the way it did was a variety of different things. So one, that whole north end of Toho used to be all like choked out in grass, and it's actually really hard bottom and a lot of shell underneath there. And Also there's like some decent depth up there, and there's good spawning grounds like all up in there, like lily pads. There's like a bunch of like Kissimmee grass, and there's like stuff all along the shoreline that's like pretty close to like deep water that went out to like 8 feet, 10 feet. So these fish were able to like kind of hang. They were probably up earlier in the weeks prior. They said the water temps was up in like the 60s, and then it dropped down to 50 for the day one of the tournament. And then it was up back up towards almost 60 on day two. But they were just all kind of hanging out in that big hard spot, waiting to push the bank. That combined with they had the Open and some other events up there where they were just shuttling insane amounts of fish up to the north end of Toho from all over the chain, just created an area that like more fish were congregating in as opposed to like just a random area across the lake. It just made something like the Alabama rig, like what I was throwing, it gave it a better chance of success because there was just a lot more shoppers there watching it come by, and it gave me an opportunity to catch more fish. And there's a channel that came out of the marina where the deep water was that kind of goes right to like the grass and through there, and there was like some grass right off of the main channel that comes out. So these fish, like kind of release fish and everything else, were kind of like just hunkered in those grass. So there's just a big population of fish up that north end just kind of hanging out, and that cold weather kind of stuck them in place, I think. And as I told Steve, it was very good for me on day one, and then day two was like real bad. Like I didn't have, like I got lucky with that last 21-inch fish there, but if I wouldn't have caught it, like I didn't have anything like other than like 14s and 15s to replace it. Like I didn't have a ton of bites like I did on day one, and that was because the water temp was raising, the pressure that we put on them combined with just just that small particular area, just getting overfished with like that particular approach. So it was like day three, I would have been really worried if there was a 3-day tournament. Like I would have been having to switch and go up to the bank and do what everybody else was doing because it wouldn't have held up.
Yeah, it was like you said, a kind of a community hole, because there were a lot of boats around him,
Yeah,
kayakers, and it seemed like everybody was giving one another space.
yeah,
Our college champion, Jacob Berryhill from Carson Newman, he was actually in your area, and I had watched him kind of cruise over that way, but he ended up moving off. I didn't know if you guys had communicated, if he knew you were in the lead, but he ended up finishing 7th overall.
yeah.
And so
I
he
had
was
I had
much.
an opportunity. Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to him. He's a really nice kid.
Yeah, and
And
we've got some good photographs. He actually stands up, G, and bends over and takes his picture. It's I've never
Really?
seen anything like it. I don't
Ain't
know.
that something?
Yeah, I don't know. I could just imagine, how we have those that just hop off the board. I could just see him trying to grab it in like midair and just diving over after it or something like that. But yeah, that was
Maybe we'll
something else.
ask him about that someday.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on here and talk to him about that. So yeah, but to that point, fishing that deep bowl like that, looking for those grass clumps, it did seem like everybody was, you know, fishing and moving, and so you didn't have any issues with any competitors or non-competitors or anything like that, really?
So day one up there, I didn't. When the tournament started, you came out a little bit later in the day, but when I went out there, I was
Mhm.
like out in the middle there, and there was nobody around. Like everybody was like made their runs to the banks, and like I had that whole bowl to myself. Everyone was on the shoreline. I wasn't there yet because the fish were kind of offshore a little bit more. So I was like the only one out in the middle. Like I had it all to myself all morning. And then I just had nobody was doing what I was doing. I didn't see nobody was throwing an Alabama rig. It just wasn't happening up there. And then as the day progressed, people struggling, doing whatever, making their way back to the ramp and stuff. Um, as Steve was there at the boat, like I was catching a lot of fish, so it was very impossible to hide me throwing an Alabama rig reeling fish in. Like so, everybody kind of caught a glimpse of what was going down, and a lot of them were like 8 to 13 inch fish. So, but there was like 30 of them. So like Steve at one point when he was there at the boat, I pulled two up at a time. They were both like 10 inches or 11 inches or
Yeah,
something, but I
as
pulled two, I
soon as we
pulled two up
roll
at
up
a
on the
time.
leader, he pulls up the itty bitties, so that was pretty
And
funny.
yeah, and then it was just crazy because it'd be like dink, 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 and then you'd feel your pole just go, okay, that's a real one. And that's kind of was the story. I was fishing it like to Steve's point with the braid. I was using like 22-pound fluorocarbon, like totally locked down, so I wasn't giving them anything. I was just ripping them in the boat. Um, and it was just I had all the space and all the time in the world. Day two, I got up there, and I mean, word spread. Everybody's doing the same thing. Barry Hill, you mentioned he was a real cool kid. I talked to him before I launched on day one, and I said, "Hey, look, I'm gonna go out and put the hurting on him with this Alabama rig." He was laughing. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I've been catching some of the chatterbaits." So we had some good dialogue exchange, and we were like kind of took off right next to each other. And he ended up putting up a good limit on the chatterbait on day one, and then he saw, and then day two, they again and I don't blame anybody, they were all super respectful, but a lot of people were there with A-rigs. So there's like 6 or 7 guys up there with Alabama rigs on day 2, in the same particular area as me. And they were like, everybody was respectful. Nobody, like, everybody kind of gave me my space. They were fishing similar areas, but like they kind of stay off of like the specific areas I was looking at. Everybody was like really respectful, and it was for a fishing tournament. I was very proud to see that, because I've been in the boat world too, and it's not always the case. There's a lot of people that are just sometimes not as nice of a human being as you could be when they see each other on the water during tournament day, and
Yeah.
that wasn't the case there. Everybody was very friendly and very professional.
Did you see the video Kukulis posted? Jake Kukulis?
I didn't. He's a good kid.
He's
I
out
like him a lot,
1G.
but I didn't.
He over the reeds. I don't know if it's a kayaker and a boater, or a boat and a boat, or kayakers do, but these two are going at it like husband and wife, man. They are just laying it down, and he was like, he was glad to not be a part of it or whatever. But
Yeah,
we
he was
didn't
the one that
hear
won
him.
at Murray. Yeah,
Huh?
he was the one that won at Murray when I got second. Yeah, Jake's
Absolutely.
he's a really nice guy. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. He's a real cool dude. So what are your, and you're fishing, you're on the Old Town team, correct?
No, this year I actually separated from Old Town.
Okay.
And it was a mutual thing. Like,
Mhm.
all the respect to the world, I was still fishing out of an Old Town kayak that I have. But I went unsponsored this year, just because last year I opened the boat and RV dealership, or well, boat and RV storage facility, sorry. And I wasn't active. I think the only event I really fished last year, I fished a couple opens early in the year, and then I just had so much going on that I kind of just stepped away a little bit. And then I fished the one Bassmaster event. I think it was at Champlain. I got like a 11th or something finish up there, but that was pretty much all I fished last year. And Old Town, they have a lot of good guys on their team and a lot of good people over there. And they have some, just like every other company, they had an event requirement, and I just
Yeah.
wasn't meeting their event requirement, and it didn't make sense for me to stay as a part of their team and take up a role when I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make as many events as I would like to. So it'd be better for somebody else to kind of take that position. And because me, like I said, it's hard planning, because I just have such a crazy schedule with everything I have going on.
Yeah.
Well,
What
I'll
else
tell
you
you
got
what.
planned for? Sorry, G, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. Well, I'll tell you what. I was just gonna say that says a lot about you, man. That's cool. That's cool that you can it's hard for some people to be willing to give up that spot, but you know what, you speak of them well, and I have a funny feeling that not that I know, but there'll always be a spot open for you if you get to fishing more events. But I got a question for you, man. Coming from Pennsylvania, it's I gotta imagine it's pretty frigid up there, right?
Oh, it's bad. Yeah, you don't have to rub it in. I know
And
you're in Texas.
yeah, we talked about this a little bit, before the show in the green room, but like coming from Pennsylvania, where it's cold and about the only thing you can do is ice fish. Do you think that in any way, do you think that made you hungrier when you came to the Kissimmee Chain? Do you think that played into your success in any way?
I don't. I think it's a great question, and I think that's like I guess it could and it couldn't. So, the big thing for me was just getting away from this miserable cold, like, tundra up here, and getting down there. Like I said, it was a family trip, so I told myself at the back of my mind, like, I'm like, this is family first. It's all about family. It's gonna be about them. Like, my fishing's gonna come second. I'm just going down to have fun. I want my dad to be able to fish. I want my niece to be able to go to Disneyland. I want to be able to, like, just spend time with my family and do this down there. So I only had like half days on the water during practice, and I was just kind of like inner peace. I kind of accepted that I was just going to go down there and try and like do my thing, and it was just the calm, cool, collected thing. And that combined with, I mean, good karma or being blessed or whatever it may be, that it was my time. But like I would have never had it on my bingo card or guessed in a million years that I was gonna, even after practice, I was gonna have a chance to win this thing or cash a check, with what I had going on. Um, and as I told Steve, I said if I did know what I was going to do up there on the north end, I probably would have had my dad start there with me on the first day, because he would have been able to like easily catch a check. But that just goes to show he ended up going down to Cyprus and struggled down there. So like I'm like, man, I wish he would have came back up there. But then you never know, he could have caught a fish that I needed in that similar area, and it could have like hurt me too on that first day. So to answer your question, I don't think it was that I just came down super hungry. I think that I came down there with no expectation and super calm and just trying to do the right thing and be with my family and just enjoy the time on the water and just kind of treat it like a day of fishing and maybe if anything, I think I was a little more successful because I was not as how would I say it? Not as I didn't have as much expectation as to when I go to an event by myself, where which I've done in the past, where I go to an event by myself and I put every single day of practice on the water from sun up to sundown, barely eat, not sleeping, up rigging gear all night long, and like just kind of. And then my kid and my wife are back home, and I'm like worried, like, oh, like I shouldn't be here. I should be home with family. I shouldn't be here. I get all that mental like stress in my head, and like it spins me out, and I end up like just making stupid decisions or moves, and get hard on myself over it. And like this event just seemed like it was one of those really well set up events for me to win, just because like I just went down there with no expectation, no, I didn't think I was going to win. I didn't think anything. I just went down to have fun in the water and fish and spend time with family, and it just, the Lord blessed me, and it came out to what it was. I mean, that's really the truth of the matter. So I think that the short answer is, I think it was the opposite, because I wasn't so like the expectation wasn't so crazy, and I didn't put as much pressure on myself, and I just went down and had fun, and that's what made it really come together for me.
Ain't it wild how that works?
Yeah.
Ain't it wild? It seems like sometimes, at least for me, it's those tournaments that I'm hungriest to do really well that I just fall flat on my face.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's what it is.
And then when I just like don't even care, somehow like it just comes together. It's like when you get your priorities straight, things just tend to work out better. Hard to explain.
You hammered it. It's that's exactly it. It's crazy. I don't know how to explain it either. Like the hardest thing for me fishing down south, I mean, Florida, I've always fell flat. Like I've never really done well in Florida. The hardest thing for me always going down south was it's harder. And I don't really have much experience in Texas, but I think you would know that there too. It's harder to have a practice. I don't ever go down there and practice and think like, I'm going to hammer them, I'm going to kill them, I'm going to cash a check here. Like up north where I'm from, like on smallmouth lakes and stuff, I'll usually go like to practice for a tournament. I'm like, I'm gonna win this one, or I'm gonna get a top 3. Like I'm like, I know, like I'm like, this is gonna happen here, because like you can practice and like what's gonna happen. Like you're much more mindful of like, this practice was good. That's gonna turn into a check. Like I don't have that down south. Like I've never every win or high finish I had down south, I've never had a practice where I said I'm gonna absolutely win this thing, or gonna hammer it, I'm gonna win. It was just always out of nowhere, like a terrible practice that just turned into like a high finish, and like that just seems like how it's been for me anytime I've done well down south.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of practice, oh, sorry, G. I was going to go ahead and bring in Dylan because G brought
cool.
up
I didn't even realize he was around. Awesome.
Yeah, well, we're going to get the champ out of the way partially, but Dylan come in. We got started a little early, but Guillermo brought up some really good points in our show announcement episode about practice stuff. So while we've got Dylan and you here, Ryan, I want to bring up that point because Guillermo brought up something that was pretty great that I don't think a lot of people think of. So, hey, Dylan, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Scope.
What's up, buddy?
We appreciate you waiting back there. So, I don't know if you've ever met Guillermo and Ryan, but you finished 4th at Kissimmee Chain, so we're going to bring you in here and get your thoughts on your event. And so just give a quick bio of yourself, and then we're going to bring you into the questioning, and we've already got going on.
Yeah, so I've been around the kayak game for a while. I was homeschooled in high school. My dad took me all around the country traveling. We did KBF trails, we did the river bassin trails, and so I've been around for a while. And all of that led to, I guess, this tournament is I never put up a limit over 100 inches. And just you have a lot of fails in life as you're fishing, but you got to take everything with a grain of salt, because you live and you got to learn from your mistakes. And what I found was, if you want me to be honest, the first day of the tournament, I had no idea I was going to catch the fish I did, because in practice, I only caught one fish all of practice, but it was a 9.5 pounder, 26 inches.
Bigger than my personal best.
And so I was like, she's not alone. I'm not leaving that spot for 2 days. And if magic happens, it's going to happen. Day 1, I lost a fish that would have definitely helped and filled my limit, but you can't win them all. And it was meant to be. day 2 just let me swing on them harder.
That's awesome, man. Golly.
But
It's crazy how one fish sometimes can, that one big female can kind of clue you in to what all the other females are doing. And that's, you know, hats off to you being able to take that one bite and really turn it into a tournament strategy, because that's really hard for a lot of people to do. They may catch one female in one area and 20 males in another area, and dang near always they'll go for the 20 males because they were getting a lot of bites. But you took that one female, you turned it into a whole tournament strategy that, golly, did it work out for you, man, especially on day 2. That was incredible. I mean, I had guys, I was out there fishing, and I had guys like, hey, did you hear about what Dylan Crystalski did? And, you know, I don't look at the leaderboard too much, but I was like, no, I didn't hear about what he did. What did he do? He's like, he's got like 113 some odd inches. I'm like, what? And I'm out there with 112-incher in my stringer, wondering like, what the heck's going on? I better get hungry. I got to find some fish because they're biting somewhere. And yeah, I mean, literally, I had 2 different guys tell me that on the water, and that was super cool, super impressive, man. Hats off to you.
Yeah. Well, like unlike Ryan did, like he went up to Toho with, I think, 70% of the field. I decided to go down to Kissimmee and stay there, pre-fish all week Kissimmee, because last year I found a good spawning area where a lot of fish were bedding. And then I pre-fished all the spawning area, no fish at all, and just went out a little deeper, and that's what happened. They were all just out there chasing bait fish. And I tried rattle trap. I tried everything. They wouldn't bite a rattle trap because I guess too much vibration. They wouldn't bite a chatterbait, too much vibration. So I had to do a DT6, and something about that just tickling the bottom. They loved it.
That's awesome.
And so Marty Hughes has got up on the Bassmaster website. For those of you that don't know, navigating websites seems to be something that we've forgotten how to do, but like, because we're all on our phones and everything. But you click the top right hand corner, the dots or the horizontal lines, and it'll bring up tournaments, and you click on kayak. And when you go there, you're going to have the kayak resources page. So you're going to see the Pro Guide Angler of the Year standings, your kayak resources page, tournament registration, off limits information and everything. But then you also get the gallery. And, you know, you get to see Mark Cisneros' stuff where he gets out and does his shutterbug thing. But then Marty Hughes, after every event, does the top baits at Kissimmee Chain. There's some, I posted it over on the Facebook Bassmaster page, but it's got a great one of Ryan with that rod just bowed back, throwing that Hog Farmer umbrella rig. And the smile on his face is pretty great. And then it's got Dylan down there. And it shows the DT6. And funny thing is I was in a tackle shop on the way down to Kissimmee, and I was talking to the guy in there, and we were just talking fishing stuff, and you know what's biting. I live on Chickamauga, and I just got through fishing Seminole and headed down to Kissimmee, and I walked by, and DT6 Demon in the demon color caught my eye. And then across the country for 100 years or however long, you could throw a DT6, DT10, whatever, in a demon color around this time of year and just smoke them. And those things had dust on them, you know, and it's a frequented shop, you know, it's a pretty popular shop. So they sell a lot of stuff. And I was like, man, you just imagine how much money has been won on a DT6. And he was like, I know, man, you know, because a lot of minnows are what gets sold. And with the advent of forward facing sonar, good, bad, or indifferent. But, you know, I mentioned to him, because something I've seen just fishing for fun around here with some buddies and everything. I mentioned to him, I was like, I want to see how much money gets caught this year on baits like DT6 and stuff, because it seems as if, and Guillermo could, with his relationship with some of the outdoor manufacturers, I think we're seeing people getting back to a few more traditional baits, and it's almost like that bite is new to the fish or something anymore. Because I had mentioned about that DT6 in particular. I said, I just wonder if somebody's going to bust this thing out and put it to work. And then there we go. Dylan busted it out and caught the biggest limit we've ever had with 114 3/4 inches, which everybody that fishes always looks at it and converts it. And that's I don't know, G's smarter than I am on fish and fish bellies, but that's about 35 pounds ish.
If not more. I mean, you just at this time of the year in the pre-spawn, I mean, it's hard to know. It could be all over the place, but crazy nonetheless. Nonetheless. I think Bassmaster with their move to kind of have some of their events with forward-facing sonar and some without. I typically I would say I'm not a fan of mixing up rules for different events, like in a normal scenario, but I see that move actually being really good for the industry.
Yeah.
For that reason specifically, I think we're going to see a lot of those old baits make a comeback in some of these events. I mean, like Hank Cherry, like biggest flex in professional bass fishing, probably, going out there with a chartreuse grub and just mutilating them, like stuff like, baits like that are going to make a comeback now. And that's pretty exciting. I think I love to see stuff like that happen. I mean, I like catching them on a minnow just as much as everybody, but it's cool to see those old school tactics making a comeback. And I don't know what color you were throwing, Dylan, but I hope after the show you'll send me a picture of it or something. Oh, it's right there. Look at that. There it is.
The penguin color, but I had, I think, 4 rods, all with DT6s on it, one with 12-pound line, one with 15-pound line, and one with 20-pound line. And one was like a blue back shad. One, as long as the belly was white, they didn't seem to care.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
But
and so what my point bringing up, Guillermo had mentioned in our preview podcast about practicing, because we're talking about when you get to a body of water, you're excited, you want to just go fish because you're at a bucket list lake most of the time. So how do you keep from destroying your area or something like that, but you still have to catch fish? But the thing that I thought that was fascinating and frustrating is because we all know Guillermo is one of the better fishermen in the country. A lot of times he doesn't figure out his bite and what he's going to do with his winning pattern until into day one. So how do you guys, being in the scope, we want to cover everything that we can, physical fishing as well as the mental fishing. So, how do you go into a tournament when your practice is sucked and you don't have anything figured out yet, like Guillermo had mentioned in our preview, and about midway through the day, he's got a quick limit if he can get it, and then he figures out how to capitalize on day 2. So what are your thoughts going into day 1 when your practice hasn't been good, Ryan?
So I think, as I spoke earlier, I think sometimes a poor practice leads to a good tournament. And sometimes I think, as for me particularly, I caught the only fish I was catching that were good fish was on that Alabama rig, right? I had 8 rods with me. I mean, I was trying everything, like chatterbaits, like crankbaits. I had a DT6 tied on. I had a chatterbait tied on. I had a drop shot tied on. I had, what else did I have? Shaky head tied on. Just a bunch of different stuff to try. And the truth of in a lipless, like everyone, I tried all that stuff in practice and like I didn't get bites on it. So I think that mentally tells me, okay, this is the only thing that you delivered on. This is the only thing that caught you fish. Like, forget what everything else is going on in the noise. This is what I caught my fish on. I'm going to put 2 of them on. I'm not even going to bring other rods, and I'm just going to throw that thing nonstop and just kind of not waste time switching to a different lure because I had confidence in that one lure I caught him on that I was going to be able to deliver and make it happen. So sometimes if you catch a lot during practice, and I caught some on the shaky head, caught some on the crankbait, caught some on the chatterbait, sometimes it spreads you thin during the tournament and kind of gets you like doing a little bit too much of everything and not being as focused on that one particular thing. So for me personally, I think the fact that I only caught him on that one lure made my tournament stronger because it just mentally prepared me like, this is what you're doing all day long. You're not changing it up. You're just going to do this and throw it and cover as much water as possible. And that's how I went in this thing.
What about you, Dylan?
Yeah, basically like a bad practice tends to lead to a good tournament is what I found out. Is like if you can find that few fish, such as for me, like I found that one massive in practice, and day one I should have just stuck to my plan, which I originally had more, but you live and learn. And in practice, you really got to focus on, like, we had a cold front come in. So like those fish are going to be probably in deeper water, and they wanted to spawn. It was a full moon that week. They want to go up shallow. So like they want to spawn. They're there. You just got to try to dial it in and figure it out where, when, and what do they want to eat. And with that, what I found is they didn't want the vibration. And I tried that day one, the rattle trap, more than I should have. I should have stuck with the DT6, but you live and learn. You live and learn.
Yeah, I think it's crazy what an open mind can do for you, you know, and in practice, when we have a good practice, it's really hard to have an open mind because something worked so incredibly well in practice. But when you have a bad practice, it's really easy to have an open mind. The sky's the limit. Anything can go out and catch them. So, I mean, that's why in a previous episode I mentioned I use practice typically just to get a clue, just to have an idea what could be going on. But I try not to have too good a practice because I know what that does for me is it usually just gets me zoned in on one thing that oftentimes things just change. Now, Dylan, where are you from?
State College, Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you're both from Pennsylvania. I have a question for both of you. Just to kind of close it out. And this is kind of coming off of something that Ryan said earlier. And I don't know if this is true, but I kind of want your insight. North versus South, right? It seems like our northern tournaments, the fish tend to, now this is just my observation. I want y'all's observation because y'all constantly come down south. The fish tend to stay on a more consistent pattern longer than they do in the South. I feel like in the South, it's like one day they're in 3 feet, the next day they're in 30 feet. It's like you can't, it can be so hard to kind of stay on top of one thing. But when I tend to go up north, things tend to be a little bit more consistent, and I tend to be able to rely on practice a little bit more than I do down south, especially at this time of year. What's y'all's observations for actually living up north? Is it a time of year thing, or Ryan, we'll start with you.
Oh yeah, so I think two parts of that question. One, if you're talking smallmouth, they're just a total different species, which you know. So I mean, smallmouth fishing is its own monster, and they're a little bit more predictable in big water, but in the river, they're like kind of like those southern largemouth. They're there one day and gone the next.
Right.
But as far as like the largemouth fishing goes, I think there's just less structure on some of these bigger northern lakes, and they're just more predictable in that sense. Like there's less inhabitable areas. Like you look at Cayuga, for instance, like 85% of that lake is 200 feet. They're not going to be there. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like where some of these like shallower southern reservoirs and like Florida specifically. I mean, Florida, my goodness, everything looks like there's a fish on it. Like everything looks so good down there. That's what always been such a struggle for me. But up north, I mean, like you just have a much smaller area that these fish are concentrated in on more of these bigger reservoirs. We don't have a lot of super big shallow water fisheries in the north. They're mostly bigger, like deeper, like cut lakes and glacier cut lakes, and like you got like the Finger Lakes and like all like the big Great Lakes, and it just concentrates the fish in a bigger area, or a smaller area rather, and your season's more limited. So I feel like early spring, I guess summertime for up there is like early spring down south, because those fish have been like not getting a ton of pressure yet, and they're just because it's the ice just come off, right? And like all the ice is gone, and then they have like a whole 4 month, 5 month period where they're not even getting pressure. They don't even see a lure. They don't have anything in front of them. So it just makes it a little bit more um, enjoyable when you go up there as far as like catching numbers. I would say like you catch a lot more fish because they're just not as heavily pressured. You go towards the end of the summer, it gets a little bit tough. Like you go to St. Lawrence River, you go up there in the springtime, you can wax them like everything. You just go out with like 25 to 30 pounds, I guarantee. But then you go up there like peak midsummer, and sometimes like it becomes a little bit tougher. And then the fall gets real good again as they feed up, and then the ice comes on, and then they got a 4 or 5 month vacation, you know?
Right. What about you, Dylan?
So like there's only limited places that they can spawn. So like for an example, up in Lake Erie, a lot of the smallmouth population all comes to Prescott. They spawn all on the outsides of it. There's rock piles. They all congregate there, and you can really get into them in the springtime up there. Another example is one of my home lakes in State College is this little lake called Sayers, and it's a hidden gem in PA. If you ever get the chance to fish it, it's amazing. But there's a whole bunch of road beds that go through it, and in the spring they really have nowhere to spawn besides those road beds, so they all congregate on those road beds and spawn up there. In the summertime, it gets a little more difficult as they all spread out, but in the summertime, but in the fall, they congregate again to feed up as well, and you can get into them as well. But like Ryan said, there's very limited habitat, I'd say, compared to down here. Like literally, you want to throw at every reed down here. It's gorgeous looking. But it's truly they both.
Are you still
have
in
their
Florida,
perks.
Dylan?
I am still in Florida.
You lucky dog.
I'm here till March 5th, and then I'll be heading home.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that, what do both of you have planned, and Guillermo as well, for 2026? Because since I don't get to be a competitive angler on this series, I'd like to see what you guys have planned for 2026. Not just a Bassmaster circuit. What you're going to fish in your area too.
Go ahead, Dylan.
So I'm probably going to do all the PA Bass Nation kayak trails. I'm going to do as many of the Bassmaster. I'm going to try to come out to Cato and try to go to Santee Cooper, and then Susquehanna's in my backyard, and I love that. That's going to be a great event, especially in August. There's going to be a lot of 18 plus fish caught, and on the river system, that river is world class. And if any of you guys out there listening, come up and fish it, because it is truly amazing fishery.
Speaking of that, I'm kind of interested to see where those constraints are going to be. I don't think it's up yet, or is it, Steve? Or the boundaries up for that yet?
Curse you for mentioning it. I'm actually I'm working on it right now. I'm working with some of the PA guys to just kind of remove some things that in the past have caused some issues in that area. But we're hosted out of Bloomsburg, PA, which is further north. And with the field sizes that we've had the last several events up there, being 200 in each of them, probably going to have more water than we have in the past. So
yeah, it's wild, because I actually live on the Susquehanna, but just way further than it's ever come. I'm up in like Tunkhannock, and it's funny, like, 'cause I just never seen a tournament on that section of the river. So props to you guys for doing it. I think it's going to be a super fun, different event.
Yeah. So, but I hope to have it out by the end of next week, because we've got the championship, which we'll touch on in just a quick minute, coming in March. But yeah, but we want to add, because I don't like being restrictive when it comes to you all being on the water. But so the parameters we're putting in place are just normal stuff everybody knows about, so we don't have to worry about accidental encroachment or anything like that somebody might make a mistake that's inexperienced or whatever. Put some things to bed that needed to be for over some years, but I want to make sure that we're respectful to the host, which is why it's important to make it to everything that you can that's kind of located around that area, is because they want to see us, and they're the ones that pay the host fee to make it possible. But stay respectful to their area, but at the same time, they are well on board with us making certain that there's enough water inbounds for people to have a good experience, because that's what the main thing is for y'all. It's catching a fish. For us, it's wanting you to have enough of a playing field to be able to spread out and do that without being on top of each other. So
yeah, awesome. And to continue in there, I think the rest of my year, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't really plan on necessarily chasing any kind of particular kayak thing, but then I come down and I get a first place finish at the Bassmaster event Kissimmee down there, and like wasn't expected at all. But then it gives me that fire. I'm like, oh, it's only 3 events, so now I'm thinking like maybe I can make a run at something. Maybe I should fish a couple more events. So and I have one in my backyard there in the Susky, and I'm thinking maybe I'll fish a couple more. So there's a good chance I'm gonna seeing y'all at a couple more events this year.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Take my
what
money.
you got on the docket, Guillermo?
Well, I'm probably gonna. Man, it's a tough call here, but for sure, I'm pretty committed to fishing. The majority of the Bassmaster Kayak Series schedule. Um, I'm really interested. I'm really interested in doing some of Drew's events. Uh, I did one last year, and it was just fun. Like
Kayak Adventure Series.
it brought me back to like why I started kayak tournament fishing, and I just that's really all I could say about it. I just had fun, and
Yep.
that was really meaningful. Not that I don't have fun at our Bassmaster Kayak Series events, but I tend to take those. Sometimes I tend to take those far too seriously. And I was able to go to Drew's events, and I just really enjoyed those. So I'm hoping I can make a few more of those, and I'll hopefully do a few more. A few local events in Texas, but right now I'm just focused on the championship. I'm really excited for that. I think we have two great fisheries in line for that, and it's my understanding we're going to do a little preview episode where we may bring someone in that may give up a little juice. Is that right, Steve-O?
Yeah, we're going to have a preview show for hopefully every event this season, and so we're going to talk to a good person on the lake here, Greg Worsham, and have that preview episode up. It should be airing right after this episode. But to Guillermo's point, and then I'll circle back around and touch on what he mentioned about the Kayak Adventure Series things. But here's what we're doing for our championship. We're hosted in Knoxville, Tennessee, with the Bassmaster Classic. So on Tuesday, our anglers are going to come into town for their registration down here at the bottom of this graphic. That their practice ends at 3 p.m. So when the anglers are off of water, we're going to give them a couple of hours to get reset, and then we're meeting at the Chattanooga Whiskey Event Center downtown, where we'll have a dinner, open bar. Just let the anglers come in and be celebrated for their accomplishment of the 2025 season, and get them fed, get the board check, registration done, give their angler briefing, and just hang out and have a good time. All of this information is found in an email that should have went to everyone. What we're finding out is a lot of people haven't updated their emails, so the Bassmaster email they have on file is not the one they use anymore. So please go double check that for us. But we're hosted by Chattanooga Tourism in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and our anglers are going to fish Lake Chickamauga and Nickajack Lake. For us, that's a first with split bodies of water, but they're both on the Tennessee River system, and they both fish very similar, have the same caliber of fish. And I grew up on Nickajack, moved to Chickamauga in 2011, and it's just they're both phenomenal fisheries. So it's going to be really nice to have those anglers there. And then Guillermo and I will be on stage, and I just got this update yesterday. But we're going to be on stage. I'll give the details later, but right now, until they're 100% set in stone, I don't want to share them just yet. But in the expo at the Bassmaster Classic in Knoxville, Guillermo and I will have an hour on the expo stage at the Bassmaster booth, and we'll bring up the top 10 finishers from the event. And then you all will be able to go across the Bassmaster Classic stage and get your photo ops and get your shine and everything. Let the world see your accomplishment. And what I think is going to be a phenomenal event, especially here in March, which we'll let Greg talk about that in a little bit. But Guillermo mentioned Drew's series, the Kayak Adventure Series, and I got to fish the first one he had on the Georgia rivers out of Tompkinsville, I believe it is, Georgia, which was the Flint, the Okmulgee, the Oconee, and one more. But it is what it is. Like, a Bassmaster Series or some other ones, those events, you paid a lot of money to come into town and fish as close to a professional level series as we got right now. And in Drew's series, it's still head-to-head competition, but it's a different vibe. So you'll come into town for your practice, even if you want, and then on Friday, the meet and greet deal that goes on there, and then he's got seminars that are attached to it, a brunch. I think the brunch might be on Thursday, it may be Friday morning, and then competition is half a day on Friday, and then you fish all day Saturday. And within the event, there's microfish, there's just events inside the event. And although you're competing against each other, there's just a different feel to it. It's pretty great. We've got the Team Kayak Series that's growing. Michael Musgrove and Gene Jensen run. They've got an event coming up very soon. I believe it's the 28th on Harris Chain, and that's a pretty good series. They've got some good sponsor support behind it. And then, Vinny and Marv and the guys at Big Adventures with Native Watercraft, they've got the No Limit Big Bass Power Hour. If you're not familiar with that, it's you pay your entry fee. It's $140. And if they get 100 anglers, which they have in most every one of them, every hour you get $1,000 for big bass, and that's kind of, where we got the idea for you guys to get the $100 hourly big bass, which Dylan won 2 or 3. You got 2? 2. And so it's extra couple $100, for people that, may not be in check cashing range, but you can stick around and swing for the fence and, catch a $100 fish or maybe more than one. But in the Native No Limit event, you do have a head-to-head competition where you win $1,000 for first place. And then there's cash for second and third, depending on the tournament size. But each one of them have like a $250 gift card attached to the hourly big bass, as well as $1,000. So, and these are one-day events. They are coupled with us at Susquehanna. So they're going to be fishing Sunday so that we don't have a separate tournament on Saturday wrecking your fish. So Sunday, you guys hop in that Native event as well. And I mean, on Susky, it's going to be kind of hard to win, an hourly fish like that if you don't have a 19 or a 20-inch smallmouth. So that's pretty great there. So we've got a lot of good things going on in the sport. Some kayak shops have tournaments on the national scale. They're upwards of 200 anglers in some of those. So reach out to us if you've got any questions about what's going on in your area. As Dylan mentioned, the PA Bass Nation is growing. He's going to fish it. Guillermo's in Texas. Duke runs a great Texas Bass Nation, and we have Tennessee and Georgia in our area. So reach out to us if you've got any questions, and we can get you linked up with those tournament directors. But I appreciate all of you coming on with Guillermo and I and helping us get this off the ground. So that we can do, everything that we can to give the anglers a stage to, talk about what you do. And, I'll let you guys take us out of here.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. It's been a great episode. You guys have provided some incredible insight as to, your own heads and what you guys are thinking about going into the event. So just a big thank you from me.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys doing this platform. I mean, Steve, like I said, you're running the events for us anglers and doing a good job keeping everything fair. I mean, you guys have just stepped it up a level. I mean, like I said, I mentioned when we were down in Florida, just with doing like the amount of effort and time and involvement you guys are doing with just listing the ramps that are like legal ramps and like just the constraints and just the mapping and everything you guys do. Just they're really well run, polished events. Everything's super smooth from check-in to check out. And now that you guys are taking a step further with this Scope podcast, OG and Steve, thank you guys for doing this just to give us anglers a spotlight to come on and talk and tell our story. And I'm super thankful for you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Guillermo, for all that you guys do. It's really special to be here and just talk about the amazing experience that me and Ryan have made over this last couple weeks. And it's just truly get to share it with everyone else. And just thank you again for all you guys, for what you guys do.
And I just want to
go ahead, G.
I want to leave everybody with this. Okay. When you get out there and you're fishing one of the Bassmaster Kayak Series events, never forget, if you went out there and had a tough day one, never forget what happened to Dylan. Ever. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Get out there and fish. There's hourly big bass. There's so much. You don't know what's going to happen. So get out there, fish hard, grind, and you never know. You might wind up with one of the biggest stringers in kayak bass fishing history.
Yep.
Congrats for that, by the way.
Thank you. But that just makes the day one even worse. The 112 inches.
Well, I was going to say to you, everybody, I hear so many people splash, throwing a fish overboard, 13 incher. Well, I'm in Florida. What's a 13 incher going to do? My man would have had a 12 incher. Ryan's check would have been a little bit smaller going back to Pennsylvania, but it wasn't. So congratulations to Ryan's chucking that rig. The mental part of fishing sucks.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like I said, it's wild. But Dylan, that was incredible showing. I saw that and I was like, man, the first thing I could think of when I got to when we were doing the ceremony deal, when we got there at the end, like I just saw Dylan, I'm like, I got to meet this guy. I never had a chance. We rode Pennsylvania, never met him. I'm like, dude, what were you doing? That's awesome. So just so happy for him to have that experience down there. I would love to have it. Like I said, he said, oh, I just caught a 1.9 pounder. I'm like, oh, my biggest is an 8.4 I think I've ever caught. So I mean, congratulations, bud.
Yeah, that was my PB. And then again, I never posted a 24-inch bass in a tournament, and here I posted 2 of them in one day. So
and the other part on that day too, right, Dylan, is you continued to make it bleed worse for people because you didn't just catch 114 inches. You decided, or whatever that crazy number was, but you said that you were literally throwing back 19s and 20s all day long for like one after another until you're like, oh, the bite finally shut off at like 1 o'clock. Oh, 1 o'clock of catching 20s. That's nice.
What made it even? I went out there the next day, same spot, same everything. I didn't catch a fish.
No way. So I was this close to being like, yo, I got a couple more days down here. Do you want to go out and like hit that spot up and see if they're still there?
And Ryan, congrats again to you. It's so hard. It's so hard to be consistent in Florida. It really is. I mean, I've gone to Florida several times now. I pretty much grew up in Florida, and it is hard to be consistent in Florida. And you were just that. You were consistent out there. So mega congrats to you, man. Great win. I can't wait to see what you do in future events here. And you got to believe that, with a first place finish, I mean, even though it's early in the season, that is a great way to start an AOI run.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. And I unfortunately, like I said, I didn't fish enough to qualify for that classic down there. A couple of my buddies from back home here are going to be down there. But I've never been west of Texas. When I say west of Texas, I mean like Caddo Lake was like as far as west I've been in the United States. Like I've never seen any of the western states. So I have some friends that used to fish that boats, like Anthony Garcia. We're some buddies, and they have some kayaks out there on the west coast and stuff. So I'm contemplating on getting a plane ticket and borrowing some stuff and hitting that Clear Lake event, because never been there, never seen anything over there, and I think it'd be exciting just to one, see California, see the west side of our country, and then two, just go in something that I've never even been near, just to see what I can figure out there.
Well, we got room for you, man. We appreciate you guys, and we'll catch up with you on the next episode of The Scope. For Steve Owens and Guillermo Gonzalez, we'll catch up with you soon.
Take care, guys.
Thank y'all so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, guys.